Okay, it's Friday. It's 12 p.m. UTC or 2 p.m. my time. It's time for me to play around with some AI things again. Um, I remembered the sign. I remembered the lights. I didn't have to get up from my desk again. That always puts me in a good mood. Um, as always, I have been fiddling with my audio. I do this almost every week. So if the background music is too loud, or you can't hear the background music, or my voice is too loud, do let me know, and I'll do my best to fix that. But I did do a quick test before we started, and it should all be good. And there's nobody online now anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay. Today, I don't really have a good solid plan of what I want to do. But I do want to talk a little bit about some of the updates that have happened with the WordPress MCP plugin. I also want to discuss a comment on one of my videos. I had a comment that I want to dive into, which I think is here somewhere. Now, I'm going to pause that so the comments are open. And then I'll kind of see. I also want to see whether some of these updates have fixed the bug that I was fiddling with last week. So really, this is just going to be more of an exploratory stream. I'm just going to go off on tangents and try things out. I have no specific plan. But moving on to recent updates to the MCP plugin. If you have a look at the commits, the commit history, a couple of days ago, there have been a whole bunch of additions and changes. Basically adding new tools to the MCP plugin. So media tools, pages tools, settings tools, adding a custom post types tool for managing custom post types, which effectively fixes my issue last week of having to register a tool to get lessons, because now I can just use the custom post types tool. And other assorted fixes. So I'm going to load this all up today in my local WordPress site and see what kind of additions there are there, see what changes have happened. I did log the issue that I found last week, that the get post tool throws an error, so I'm going to test this out today and see if this has been fixed. I also had some clarity around the feature API stuff, so I might dive into that a little bit today. So we will see what happens. So here is my site. What I have also done to make my life easier, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, so please bear with me, is I have forked both the MCP plugin and the feature API plugin to my own GitHub account. And I'm using those in development mode on my local environment, because then I can see the code and dive into the code, and I'm not uploading plugin files and all that kind of thing. So to start off with, I'm going to sync this fork. And something else that I've discovered recently is that GitHub has its own MCP server implementation. And the reason I found this is because every time I want to use these plugins, I need to first sync the fork. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was a way that I could tell the AI agent to do that? And I think the GitHub MCP server might make that possible. So if there's time, I might try and do this a bit later. Just to sync the fork, get the forks syncing automatically from wherever I'm using them. So we'll see if there's time. I might dive into that. But for right now, I just want to manually do everything, and then we'll take it from there. So let's do this one. Let's update the branch. While that one's doing, this one seems to be up to date, so we're happy there. Okay, and then I'm going to hop on over here to PHP Storm, where I have my local site set up. And here I've got all the plugins and things. Just close this down. There's all the plugins. There we go. Let's run some terminals. I'm gonna rename some things here. Wait. This song is not doing it for me. Okay. So let's do this. Let's go. Let's just close down some of these. Now I want to open up specifically MCP. I'm going to rename this so I can find it again later. And I want feature API as well. Not gonna lie, it's one of my favorite things about modern IDEs that they have terminal session, tabbed terminal session functionality inside the IDE. I don't use it enough. Okay, so let's run a git pull. Okay, don't need, I was busy fiddling with code recently. Don't need that code. Run that in case you need anything there. Let's get the latest over here. I really should send this stuff off to an AI agent, if I'm honest. Oh wait, I'm doing things wrong here. Hang on. I'm running the wrong commands in the wrong place. MCP is npm install. Feature API is npm run setup. If I was using an AI agent, I wouldn't have to remember that. Just going to remove it. Okay. You know what? Sometimes you just want to delete your node modules. Or dependency updates or something. Okay, that's fine. Yeesh. How long is this? How big is this thing? Okay, so that's all fine. Let's go and have a look at the site. Okay, let's deactivate the feature API for now. And I'll leave that code there. We might use it later. Let's activate this. And let's just check the settings. Okay, so we don't need the features adapter, that's fine. These are all the tools. There's a whole bunch of them now. So that's cool. Okay, feature API. Okay, let's do this again. Set up. Sometimes it's just better to nuke all your dependency folders and start over. Okay, while that's doing that, I think I nuked version 5 of Cursor. Updated version. Nice. No. I think I went and deleted my MCP details. I was really fiddling around yesterday. So I'm going to reconfigure this now. Grab this. Oh, I can probably just do the whole thing. Where did that come from? Oh, that's mine. Whoops. I should probably turn that off. That's the key for my public site. Already found that. They'd be able to do some nasty things. The joys of live streaming. Let me just disable that. Revoke that password. Revoked. Yes, do it. Go away. Okay. Happy. So the plan was actually to do this later, but I'll do it now. So let me set passenger local. Let's fetch the URL. Let's generate a new password. Because I can't for the life of me remember the old password. Going to very paranoidly just go check out my personal site again and make sure that the password has been revoked. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So let's add a new application password and we'll call it same as this. Application password, copy that, good. Put it over there. And I'm going to need to change the log location. Because this is a different computer. Do it. There. Alrighty. Don't need that one. Okay, so let's enable this one. And if we go into cursor settings. Yep, there it is, all working. Now comes the fun part. So because of the custom post type tools, I can now start searching for local lessons and things. So let's hop on over here to courses. We're searching for a lesson called file structure. Okay. The other thing I did was I've tweaked the lesson creation rules slightly. So I specifically said there are custom post types. So use any custom post type tools for adding and updating lessons. Search for lessons that are either in publish or draft status. Search for possible lesson matches. When updating content from file, convert content to block markup. If there are images present, upload them to the WordPress media library using media tools. That we're going to try later, see how that works. And then always return the preview URL when a lesson is updated, added or updated. Let's say added or updated. Okay. If you want to see any of this code, I don't think I've pushed it yet. Let's have a look here. So this is all sitting in, no. Is it? No. There is a repository in the WordPress thing where I used to save all my lessons in for Learn WordPress. Cannot for the life of me remember now where that is. Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was in the. It's here. Yes. There it is. There it is. So this is where I used to commit all of my lesson content as I was working on Lessons for Learn, and folks used to contribute to it, and that's where the developer learning pathway sits. What I don't know is whether or not this is the version. Let's check something. Okay, I need to. Oh, it's in the learn content. Okay, that's fine. All right. So if I go get commit -a, updating lesson creation rules. Right, is it main? Yeah, it is main. So now if we go into here, there it is. Okay, so there's all the lesson creation rules. If you want to see them, pop this in the chat if anybody's there. One of the things that I've discovered about all of this is that the better your rules are, the more detailed your rules are, the more context you give, the better your responses from using tools. So that's a big takeaway that I've experienced. All right, let us see now what this does. So two things I want to try today. I want to try and update some of these lessons, and then I want to see if it can add a module to the course and add new lessons to the course. Now, if memory serves, let's have a look. Instead modules, I think, are just tags. They're a taxonomy. I'm not sure if it's registered as, I think it's registered as a tag. So I'm probably going to need to add context that a module is a lesson tag, or lesson taxonomy. It would be a good idea to confirm that. So let's just check something. Sensei finding files module. Find window here. Too many results. Okay, let's just abort. Let's rather do it this way. It's probably going to be on the lesson, so if you register to type. Register to type lesson. So this includes class. Sensor post types. modules. So it is a taxonomy. Doesn't look like it's registered anywhere. Wait, maybe here. So it is just a taxonomy. Looks like it's just a regular taxonomy. Okay, so we might need to tell the chatbot about that, but we'll do that later. Let's focus on lessons. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, let's see what this thing can do. So let's close that. Let's close that. Let's close that. We've done that one, I'm pretty sure. Let's just confirm that. Oh, it doesn't look like I've added web servers. Maybe I did it somewhere else. Yeah, I didn't add web servers. Okay, cool. So let's start by doing that. I think I did say convert the content to block markup. There's images. Okay, cool. So this is WordPress and web servers. Okay, so we're going to have to, so this is web servers. So this is something I'm going to have to figure out about whether I want this to be something I change manually or not. Okay, so let's say update the lesson WordPress site with the lesson content. Update this lesson in the WordPress site with this, with the content in this markdown. Okay, let's see if it handles. Okay, so it's searching for the lesson. Looks like it's found it. Okay, it's the tool. Okay, so there's the preview. I wonder if we can make this would be cool as a clickable link. Let's see if that will. Okay, so that seems to have worked. Okay, chapters can come out. That's because it's sitting in the markdown. That's a markdown problem. Okay. So let's take out the YouTube chapters. This is something I used to do back in the day. I used to store the chapter markers for the videos in the lesson file. So what I should actually do is I should actually add this to the creation rules. Instead of removing it manually, I should say when adding the lesson content, ignore any YouTube chapters. In the lesson content. Okay. Let's see if we can make this always return a clickable preview URL. Let's see if we can do that. That would be cool to be able to do. All right. Let's close that. I'm going to leave the rules open because I want to kind of tweak them as we go. Okay, so this is the WordPress file structure. The lesson is only called file structure. Now, what I could start doing here is I could start getting more specific and say So if we say update the lesson titled file structure with the markdown content. See if that works. Okay, it's searching. I also want this to kind of give me better feedback. It's interesting, it's searching, and then it doesn't, I don't know what's going on, so I want it to give me some better feedback. Cool, the link is clickable. I like that. That's flipping cool. I really like that. Okay, cool. So, okay, I'm going to add some additional context here. Okay, so it already knows Markdown font-end. So, I wonder if I can. Okay, there's one other thing I want to do. Updating content. I'm going to go here, user feedback. When calling tools from the MCP server, provide the user with updates as updates about what is happening. Okay, right. Let's try the next one. The next one is WordPress database. Okay, WordPress database. Oh, did it ignore the chapters? It did. Cool. The next one is WordPress database. Okay. That's called the WordPress database, so we might need to just tweak that. I'm going to kind of fix this problem in my next test because I want to actually see if it can create the lesson if it doesn't exist. So let's say update the lesson with this content. I want to see if that minimal prompt will work because of the cursors. It did. It's not giving me feedback though, which is what I wanted. Maybe it'll do it next time. It's interesting because it seems to get a response pretty quickly. Okay. I'm not going to lie, I'm enjoying this. This is something that I still haven't figured out if it took me this long, but sitting here watching it happen is pretty cool. Let's do the next one. The next one is Permalinks. Dash is titled Permalinks. Let's do a couple of lessons. So let's do this. Let's keep that open. Let's go Permalinks, front end request, admin request. Okay. One thing I don't understand is why when I open these things in, it opens a single file at a time. I don't know if this is a cursor thing or a VS Code thing. I'm in VS Code now. Let's just see here. Might be a setting. See, this opens up multiple tabs. But in cursor, it doesn't seem to do that. And I feel like it's a cursor setting. So let's go and figure that. No, this is code. Oh, wait, that's cursor, but it has the heading code. Now it's code. Okay. Let's see if I can find cursor settings around opening up features. Chat. Is this something that cursor open files in tab? We cannot open the file in a new tab. Looks like it's been around for a while, and it's the cursor thing. Workbench, limit on open tabs. Enable preview. There seems to be a cursor thing. So let's go workbench editor. Let's see. Workbench editor. Am I in the right place? Right, let's go to text editor. Let's do a search. What are those things called? Limit. No, it seems to be. See, these are opening. Do that opens one at a time. Let's preview. Anyway, I'm not going to spend too much on that. What I am going to do is I'm going to add 3 files to context. So we're going to say Permalinks, front-end request, admin request. And I'm going to just check so that's just Permalinks. WordPress front-end request, WordPress admin page request. Permalinks, front-end request, admin request. So we'll just change it to Permalinks, front-end request, admin request. Okay, so Permalinks, front-end request, and admin request. Just admin request. Yeah, it's just admin request. Okay. Update these 3 lessons. Let's see what it does. I'll search the lessons. I'll convert the markdown content. I'll check for images. I'll update the lesson content. Okay, now it's giving me some feedback at least. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so now it's giving me some feedback. That's great. Now so it seems to take a while. Or maybe it's when I open up the new window. that it's triggered that, so that's kind of cool. Now it's going to convert. You'll receive updates as each lesson is processed. Something. Anticipation. Now, I do feel like this will be quicker than doing them individually one by one. Does seem to take a while to send the data and update it. But I seem to recall reading somewhere that you can kind of farm this stuff off somehow. You can like put a new tab. This one's still happening. No, I broke this one. Damn it. I don't know why I said please. Seems to be just taking a long time. Oh, no, it's going. It's going. It would be nice if I could stick this in a background process. Okay. All right, let's have a look and see if these all worked. Okay, so Permalinks. Oh, didn't notice that in the others. Okay, so the one thing that it had done is I didn't pick that up. It's added the heading. It shouldn't have done that. Okay, so we can tweak the cursor rules for that. So let's say when adding or updating WordPress lesson content from a markdown file, do not add the H1 heading unless when updating. Okay, let's make this a bit more specific. When adding or updating WordPress lesson content from a markdown file, the H1 heading in the markdown file should be added as the post title, not inside the post content. Okay. So that's the main tweak there. Cool. So that I can fix later. So now what I want to do is that I want to try and create a situation where it creates the modules. Let's remove this context. So here's the first thing. Cursor recently had an update where you can add a folder. So I'm going to add the O2 local development requirements folder. Okay. In the lesson creation rules, actually wait, in lesson creation rules, I'm going to change this to updating lessons. And I'm going to add a new one saying creating modules. It's a WordPress site. And I'm going to do, okay, course content breakdown. All modules are stored in folders. All lessons are stored in their respective module folder as markdown files. Okay. Cool. Creating modules. When creating a module, right, so let's just see here. Modules are a taxonomy with a slug module. Think. Let's confirm that. I know. Modules are a taxonomy attached to lessons. Okay. Modules are stored as a WordPress taxonomy. Lessons are grouped in modules. Okay, that should give it enough context there. Let's hope. Lessons are custom post types. So use taxonomy tools to create and update modules. Lessons are grouped in modules. Okay. Let's go up here, course content, creating courses. Courses are a custom post type. It's not gonna know. It's not gonna know what the data is that's stored. So I'm gonna have to either build a tool or give it that context. So that's not going to be as easy as I had hoped. Okay, that's fine. Wonder what would happen if I modules belong to the post type course. But I'm pretty sure that I wonder if the tool is clever enough to know. Let's see. Let's see if we get context. Modules are stored as a WordPress taxonomy. Belonging to a course custom post type. it comes to lessons, lessons belong to a course and have a module taxonomy. Lessons belong to a course and have a module taxonomy. I kind of feel like I need to give it access to something to be able to pick up what relationships are. Because the way the data is stored, I think is kind of, let's have a look and see. Oh, postman. If we have a look at lessons, I'm going to have to update the basic auth because I changed the password. See, lesson has a lesson course ID. And then it has the lesson tag. So I'm not sure. This is the course, and then that's assigned to it based on the course ID. So it's going to need to know at least the course ID, and then it's going to need to have, yes, assigned to the taxonomy as well. Let's just go down to first one. So I'm going to need to give it the course ID at least, and then it'll need to create the module, and then when it adds the lesson, yeah. Okay, this is getting a bit more complicated than what I wanted to do today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go off on a tangent. First, I'm going to clean up these draft lessons and remove the duplicate title. I wonder if I could get the... Oh, that's annoying. So that's a Sensei thing that Sensei does. And if you update the content and you come back to this lesson, it clears the... So that's something else I need to figure out. I need to tell it to change whatever that is. It's highly annoying. So let's update the file structure one again. And let's see if the issue with the heading is going to be fixed. going to take out the module stuff for now. I'm going to have to build this out as I go. Okay. Let's go new chat, file structure, update this lesson in WordPress in call site. I'm going to update this here when calling tools provide the user with minimal updates about what is happening. Because this is too verbose for me and I like things to be verbose. Okay, let's check that. Okay, so that's working well. Now you watch this. I'm gonna go into one of the other lessons. So let's go into what's the next one? WordPress database. And I'm going to edit this lesson, and this annoying sensei pop-up is going to appear. And if I don't cancel it, it's going to clear this whole lesson concept. So I need to figure out what's triggering that. I should really be making notes. So I'm going to do that now. So let's go over to... Actually, I'm going off on another tangent. Let me just cancel this. See, it just clears it. Ugh. Okay, anyway. I've got 2 lessons. I've got 1 lesson. I've got 2 lessons. I've got web servers and permalinks. That's fine. What I want to do now is I want to see if I can push this content to my live server. Because somebody asked me, would it support multiple sites? In other words, if I have 3 or 4 websites with different WordPress installations, different domains, and ask them to update which plugin needs an update. So I'm doing the same thing as that image there. So what I want to do is I want to configure public. To do that, I'm going to need to edit the MCP JSON file outside of this window so that I can add my password. So I'm going to close this down and I'm going to go into the cursor settings so that you can at least see hopefully the what's in and get added. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into MCP tools, and I'll show you why I'm going here in a second. Before I do that though, I'm going to open up a new window off screen and log into my personal site. And then while I do that, I'm also going to just copy out this server so that I can make another one. So off screen, what I'm doing right now is I am editing. I'm going to edit it in Visual Studio Code, which will bring it up here probably. And then I can take this off screen. There we go. And I'm going to add a second server. And I'll show you, in fact, I'll show you on screen, but the only thing that I won't do is I won't so it'll be public. Let's say production. And I'm going to make this my actual site. I'm going to remove the password for now. And then I'm going to take it off screen so that I can create the password. And do this without you all hacking me. Okay, so let's add an application password. I'm going to call it Jonathan Passenger Production MCP. I'm going to copy the password I'm going to pop it in here. I'm going to save this file. Is that what I wanted? Yes, that's fine. I'm going to save this file and then I'm going to minimize it so I can come back to it if I need to. And then I'm going to open up Cursor because now I should be able to enable this. Okay, it says no tools available. Okay, cool, it's working. So, first things first. You'll notice that it's giving me a message. It's saying you have 68 tools from enabled servers. Too many tools can't grade performance, and some models may not respect more than 40 tools. Okay, so this is something that somebody has actually raised on the MCP plugin in the issues. I'm going to show you now quickly. So Arta suggested that the server exposes a range of tools which are not viable for every use case. I think there should be a toggle to enable each route individually. So what he's talking about there is in the settings for the MCP server. What's going on here? Oh, there we go. You can enable functionality or create and update tools, but you can't enable specific tools. So, for example, I might want to enable or disable categories because I don't need categories. Site info I might not need. User I might not need, but I want to do custom post types or media or whatever. So I agree with that idea, and it's something that they're probably going to work on. So what I am going to do is I'm going to, for now, I'm going to disable the update tools on my local sites. And I'm going to disable the create tools on my local site, which means I should now only have searching and reading tools, basically. And then on my Publica site, which I think I have somewhere. No, I don't. Maybe I have it off screen. Yes, I do have it off screen. So I'm going to bring off screen back and go to the settings there. I'll bring that into window, I don't mind. I'm going to just enable the create tools, not the update tools. So theoretically, this should limit the amount of tools that I have and should make my life a little bit easier. So if I refresh local, we'll get less tools and we're getting less errors. So happy days. Okay. So now, this I theoretically could do from any chat window. Doesn't have to be Cursor. But what I want to do is I want to tell it, fetch the current lessons in my local site and push them to my public site. I don't know if Sensei installed on my public site though, so let's just check. I think it might be. No, it is not. Okay, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push them as posts in draft mode onto my public site. Okay, so let's see if that will work. Let's say updating lessons, updating. Okay, so let's have a separate. Okay, let's create a separate rule. And let's say lesson migration. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy all of this out. You're assisting with migrating course content from a local WordPress site to a public one. Okay, so what I'm going to rather do, I'm going to do it this way. In my local WordPress, I have a bunch of posts. It's essentially a copy of the post from my live site. And the reason I came up with this idea is because by mistake, I started drafting a post locally. It was a draft that I'd worked on a while ago, and I had it all finished and fixed, and I worked on it, and then I hit publish. And I was like, why isn't this public on my site? And I realized because I was working on the local. So I want to see if I can create a post locally and then using the AI agent push it to my production site. Not necessarily something I would do every day, but I want to experiment with it and see if it works. So let's just take web service, and I'm going to just pop this into a draft post. So this is now a draft post. Wait, what happened there? Oh, that's not what I wanted. Apparently I can't copy. Oh dear. Let's try that again. Okay. Don't need the YouTube chapters. Okay. So I'm going to save that as draft. Cool. And now I'm going to bring this other tab over because these are all my public posts. I don't mind this being around. So there we go. So there we go, there we go, there we go. Okay, so there is my local web service draft. There is my public, no web service draft. Local, da-da-da. I'm just going to leave the context like it is now. Okay. And let's say manual, the rule needs to be mentioned to be included. I'm going to add that context. Lesson migration rules. And I'm going to say find. Actually, it's post migration rules. So let's do it this way. Migrating post content from local to public. There we go. So let's close that. Post migration rules. Okay. Find a full post titled web servers and add it to the production site. And add it to the production site. Just that. Just want to see, okay, and I just want to see here when migrating post content, retain all post attributes. E.g. status. Previously like it. Let's see what that does. Okay, so it's calling search. It's found search. It's finding media categories. Okay, so let's add some user interface information because I didn't know what that was doing. And then let's say, do we even need the headings? Maybe not. Maybe that's just a human thing. When searching for posts, search for posts with any status. Retain all post attributes or post data and attributes from either MPC server. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, it's still not giving me feedback. Oh, do I already have web server? Seriously? I don't think that's worked. It's only searching the local site. I'm going to open up VS Code and just check that my URLs are both correct. Okay, let's try and be more specific. And let's say the local site is at whereas the production site is at let's see if that helps it. Let's try that again. It's only searching. It's not searching separately. How do I tell it which is which? Maybe if I give it the name of the MCP server. The local site tools. The local site tools belong to the MCP server. The production site tools to the production MCP. Make sure to use the relevant MCP server tool when searching or updating. Okay. Let's try that again. Ooh, it's doing something different. Damn it. Okay. So that's the thing I need to figure out there, is how to tell it. How many MCP servers can you make requests to? Okay. Use the appropriate server. Okay. It looks like your production search. Search the Now, what I want you to do is update the post migration rules so that the agent uses the correct server when making MCP tool requests. So I'm using AI to try and fix AI. Let's see if it works. Okay. Okay. So let's accept that. When searching, reading, or updating content of the local WordPress site, always use that server tools. When searching digital, use that. Never use a local tool for production content or production tool. No, that's fine. Always search in the local server and create update in production server. Cool. Okay. Okay. I noticed that it It's items like this, so that might be important. It also adds headings, so those might be important. So now let's try. How do I, let's make this always. Now let's try. Search for a post on the local site titled Web Servers and add it to the production site. Let's see if that worked. Damn it! Didn't work. Okay, I'm gonna need to do some searching here to figure out why that didn't work. But at least I can have 2 servers, which is interesting. I need to now figure out how to tell the agent which is which. So I'm gonna have to dive into that. The other thing I want to do very quickly is I'm gonna just disable the production one. I want to test an issue that I opened last week about using the get post tool with a specific ID. So let's go and say get the post with the ID of that. Get the post with the ID. That's using WP get post, and that's working. Okay. So I'm happy that works. So I'm going to close this issue. This is fixed as of the recent updates. So what have we learned today? I need to build some tools for Sensei to add the modules and those things correctly. Which I need to test probably myself before I can think about adding those things. But it's kind of cool that it works. You can add multiple WordPress sites to your MCP servers, but at the moment, either or the LLM or maybe the WordPress servers causing the problem. Doesn't seem to know the difference between the 2 different servers. So I need to figure that one out. I feel like I need to do a bit of research on that. I don't know. But at least it's working. At least I'm not getting errors and things are being figured out. And I've got the basics of the rules for lesson creation sorted, which is cool. So that's why I'm going to end it today. Pretty short stream. As I say, I didn't really have anything interesting to play with today, so I just thought I'd check those things out. I think I would like to dive into the GitHub MCP server next week, specifically WordPress related, but I'd love to be able to sync things and push things and pull things and maybe create pull requests and whatever using the GitHub MCP server. So I might just dive into that next week. I was thinking what would work is if I came back to my Markdown exporter and looked at configuring the GitHub MCP server with that plugin and how I would use that. So I might do that next week. Or I might not. I have no idea. But that's me for today, folks. There doesn't seem to be anybody in the chat right now. So I think I'm just talking to myself today. So I'm going to call it a short one, and I'll see you all around.